Hey guys, it's Ian Binnick back with another YouTube video. And in this YouTube video, we're going to be talking all about optimizations to your Google search ads after you've already placed the campaigns. So without further ado, let's dive right in. I want to start with an introduction in terms of why this is important. So I think there's a big misconception in the space of people think that they need to set up their campaign in an optimized fashion and let it run, and that's it. And I think the reason for that is because Google is constantly saying, hey, Google Ads is optimized or automated, and your bid strategy is automated. Your, maximize clicks is a AI algorithm that learns for your campaign or whatever. I think there's just all this mumbo jumbo out there, which, by the way, not all that's accurate. But I think the general underlying term is that Google Ads is automated. But I will say this: automated does not necessarily mean optimized. And I think whenever you're putting it that way, Google Ads is really the only one that's winning whenever you are not the one that is in your account making changes consistently. So setting up your campaign is probably 10% of what an agency actually is going to be doing for you. The other 80%, the other 90%, 80% of it is going to be from optimizations to your ad campaigns, specifically for Google that we're talking about here. And so there's a few things that I want to walk through, but I'm going to kind of walk through them in a systematic way. So the very first thing that I like to do whenever I am optimizing a Google search ad or Google search ads campaign is I'm going to first look at recommendations. So although recommendations, literally, I would recommend against not making any of the changes that Google recommendations makes that says you should do, I still think it's important to dismiss them. So I'm going to go and click into the optimization score. That's just one way you can get into this. And the reason why I'm saying I don't want to make any of these recommended changes is because it is an automated way for Google to take more of your money. It is less optimized. So whenever you hear automated, think less optimized. Okay? So let's get into this. Basically, what I would do is I would just be dismissing these and saying, I don't want these, and I'm going to dismiss. And as you'll notice, my optimization score has gone up. The reason why the optimization score is important is it's actually important for ad quality scores. Your ad quality, I'm not really going to get into too deep, but it does affect your costs. So whenever you're bidding on certain keywords, or whenever you're trying to rank higher than your opponents in the Google search, which I like to call advertising SEO, because there's 6 ad spots on every Google search page. And so it's called kind of like its own version of SEO, but it's the components of that really come into quality scores and competitive metrics. But optimization score does influence your quality score. Not a huge amount, but enough for me to come in here and click around a little bit to remove all of these these recommendations that I personally don't want to make. Now, some of them might make sense. If you haven't really added your logo to your search ad, if you haven't verified your account yet, or you needed to refresh your creative, maybe you're not doing a really good job of upkeeping your account, then maybe some of these make sense to do and you should do them. But if you're working with an agency or you're working with someone like Optimize, then this really isn't going to be an issue, because this is something that we do every other day for your account. So that being said, the first thing I do is dismiss recommendations. So the second thing I do, and this is probably the most important thing to do, is to actually add negative keywords to your account. So although we always set up our campaigns with exact match keywords, you're still going to have some keywords that squeeze through the cracks that are not good. And the reason for that is because Google likes to do closely related keywords, even if the intent is actually completely different. So if we go into overview, insights, and reports, and then we select search terms, then we can actually see what people are searching for, like the exact search that they have in Google, and we can see exactly the search that triggered our keyword to then trigger our ad. This is really important because you might find terms like this, for example, that say digital marketing, that I don't want to show up for digital marketing. That is an expensive keyword. That is a waste of money because there's no intent behind it. And the difference between this and digital marketing agency is different, because digital marketing agency means, hey, I know I need a digital marketing agency and I'm looking for one, versus digital marketing, I might know nothing about digital marketing and I'm just trying to learn more about it. So you see the difference in that intent. So as you can see, I have added this as a negative keyword, otherwise known as excluded, versus digital marketing agency is added. So I actually also noticed I have a keyword in here. It says digital marketing advertising. I don't really want that, so I'm going to click add as a negative keyword. And you have two options here that I like to at least include. So you could do ad group as well if you have multiple ad groups. I wouldn't always advise that. I think campaign is a great place to do this, or simply just putting it in a negative keyword list. But the negative keyword list, you can easily drag and drop that onto other campaigns. If you have a campaign, then you're going to have to export all of your keywords. And if you're creating a new campaign, you might want to add those back into that new campaign. So again, it's just like, how much work do you really want to do in the future if you need to create a new campaign? But for this case, I'm just going to put it in a campaign, and I will do the exporting later if I am creating another campaign later. And that is what you would do. So you would go through this, and depending on your budget, you might have hundreds or thousands of words in here. That is why having an agency is kind of nice, is the agency will take care of this for you. And personally speaking, whenever you are running these ads, especially when they first start, you should be in here every single day to make sure that there are no words that you want to be showing up for that you are spending money on. Because although you don't spend money when your words, or you don't spend money if they don't click on your ad, if they do eventually click on your ad, your cost per click might be pretty high. So one mistake could cost $25 if you have a word in here that you don't want to be showing up for. That's just something to consider. It could even cost more than that. So it's just stuff to consider. As you can see, like I, unfortunately spent $7. This is a $7 mistake right here. I like to call them $7 mistakes. Is Google Ads for my business. At first, like, I don't know how this triggered. It says it's a close variant of whatever my ad or keyword was, but this is obviously not something I want to be bidding on. And so I excluded this and added it as an exact match, excluded negative keyword. And as you can see, I wasted $7, but that's just part of running and optimizing your campaign, is you have to just go through this process. I guess a wise man once said, you don't know what you don't know. That's pretty much it. So that is adding negative keywords. Now, here is another thing. I would say this is arguably the second most important thing when you're optimizing your ad accounts, and that is going into where and when your ads showed. So when we set up campaigns, we like to do like business hours-ish. And so as you can see, 6 a.m. to these ads actually should be off after like 5 or 6. So as you can see, after 5, they don't show anymore. So it's 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Is when we run our ads. And that's generally because we're running ads only on desktop. We don't really run ads on mobile or tablet. And if we do, we have really negative bid adjustments, which I will show you that in a second. But we do this so that we can make sure that the decision makers that are at their computer or at their desk that are trying to make these decisions, we want to show up in the search whenever that is happening, and not maybe late at night when someone's on their phone and they accidentally type something in wrong, and then they accidentally click on your ad, and then they leave in less than a second. We don't want to show up for those kinds of people. We also don't want to show up for the potential, kinds of people that are getting paid to click on ads. So again, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole there, but that's essentially what we're doing here. Is I want to check where my ads showed, or when my ads show, where they show. So I want to make sure that if they are on partner sites, which I'll show you this in a second. Actually, we'll get to partner sites in a little bit. But devices, this is probably the most important thing. So as you can see on mobile phones, we have a 90% negative bid adjustment. That means I want to bid 90% less for mobile phones, and then I want to bid 80% less for tablets. The reason for that is because, and you can play with this as much as you like, but generally speaking, there's less intent on mobile. But if you wanted to keep it active on mobile, and you wanted to keep computers, mobile phones, and tablets completely active, what I would advise you to do is check your conversion data. Well, first the clicks, so how many clicks are you getting, and then the conversion data. So if you're getting like, for example, on computers, we just started running these ads, by the way, so that's why there's not a lot of conversion data in here. But 42 clicks on computer, but no conversions. Okay, let's pretend that there was like 5. So 42 clicks, 5 conversions. But then on mobile, I had 100 clicks and only 1 conversion. Then I don't want, that means that this is roughly 4 times as expensive to get that 1 conversion than if I did just invest all my money on computers. Then you kind of see what I'm saying here is you kind of need to remove the limiting factors in your ad campaigns and where budget is leaking out, essentially. So that's what setting advanced bid adjustments would do. So we set this -%. You could also set it positive. So if I wanted to say, hey, computers, I want to bid 100% more. So if I had a bid of $5, that means that my bid could be as high as $10 if I'm competing with someone else for that ad spot. So again, there's a lot of subjective stuff in here. Again, that's why it's important to come in here every single day and just check what's going on to really understand what's happening in your Google Ads. You can also look at locations too and do the same exact thing. So you can set adjustments based off the location. I am only targeting the United States, but if you had multiple countries or multiple states, then you could do that as well, which is a really cool thing. So now we're going to move into less important things. They probably don't need to be checked as often, but I would want to check them every once in a while, maybe even on a weekly basis for that matter. But the first thing we're going to do is go down to audiences. So I'm on audiences now. You can see your audience segments by simply clicking show table. And this is important because I want to know, okay, are these audiences leading to more clicks? Like which audiences specifically, like technology, social media enthusiasts, or SEO and SEM services, like these kinds of people that are in they're like in market segments. Google has that data, and they can actually give you information on the types or the groups of people that are clicking your ad and are actually maybe even converting. And so this is helpful not only for doing some positive bid adjustments if you find that one is doing really well. For example, if social media enthusiasts was doing extremely well, maybe we want to bid 100% more for social media enthusiasts so we can make sure that we show up for them. Or you can just take this information and throw it inside of your other advertising platforms that are maybe more demographic based. So it's helpful for Meta, it's helpful for LinkedIn. It's really good if you can put together some segmented campaigns that are extremely refined, and you get these kind of indicators from your PPC campaigns that, hey, like this market, these kinds of people in this market, they are ready to buy. And so let's target those people. And you could kind of test things like that. So again, working with an advertising agency that has the time and effort to put into this is kind of why you can see that this is 80% of the work. This isn't the campaign setup is 10% of the work. Okay, moving forward, we're going to go into ads real quick, and I like to check ad headlines. So if you click into ads and then you go add or view asset details, then you can actually see not only the assets, but then also the combinations that are happening. So again, these are new ads. We're not going to have a lot of information here, but as you can see, impressions, you could even throw, I think, like click data in here too, sorry, only impressions here, but you can see which ones are getting the most impressions. And it also, as it gets more information, it'll tell you if it's doing well or doing poorly, and you can actually turn off the ones that are doing poorly. So like I said, this is something that you want to do on a maybe like weekly or bi-weekly basis, especially if you're running A/B tests and you are doing some sort of pinned headline test, then you're going to want to check that. But you can kind of see here, it's just a visual display of the combinations of your headlines. And so it's kind of a cool thing that you should be looking at, because it's going to help inform what you're going to do next with your ads. And, when you're working with ad headlines like these, they are a direct influence in your click-through rate. And so that's why this is really important, is you need to get people to your website, click-through rate. And then once they're on your website, they need to convert on your form. That's conversion rate. And therefore, this is why these are both really important. So the last thing I want to talk through, and this one is, again, just something that you kind of need to do maybe once every month. it just depends, is to just look at your partner site spend. And so in this week on our campaigns, we were running on search partners, but so I almost always turn off the display network, by the way, if it's a search campaign. I just don't like having my search budget being used on a display network whenever I'm trying to specifically show up in search. So I reserve that budget for retargeting primarily. But there you have the option to show up on Google search, and then you have the option to show up on search partners. And it looks like we don't want to be showing up on search partners anymore because they're lower intent sites, and you're basically, they're not good UI. It's not good user experience. So the user interface is mid, and then the user experience is usually not that good. So people aren't going to be wanting to, browse on these search partners. They're really going to want to just click something and go to it. And so we have actually spent 80% of our budget on search partners. I would always recommend it to be less than 25%. And so for that reason, we've actually turned off site partners, and we like to keep our spend on the high intent channels like Google and on Bing. So with that being said, wrapping up, we do this for 7 to 14 days straight once we launch a campaign for you. And then we move to an every other day situation where we're just checking through these things and making sure that your account is optimized. So if you have any questions on how we optimize things further, be sure to leave them in the comments below. If you want to check out more videos like these, check out our playlists. We're putting together guides, like really helpful guides on if you're setting up analytics platforms or ad platforms, or you're trying to add people, or you're just trying to learn more about these platforms. We're going to be creating those guides. And we publish YouTube videos at least 5 times a week. So you're in a good space if you want to stay cutting edge with this stuff. So with that being said, I'm going to be signing off now. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll talk soon.